As the tragedy of the Holocaust became known in Europe, and the need to find an immediate refuge for hundreds of thousands or millions of Jews who needed to escape from the Nazi horrors that became evident. And while the United States, Canada, and other countries refused to open their borders to Jewish immigration, many Jews started coming into Palestine legally and illegally, and the tensions between Palestinian national desires and the Zionist program, fueled by this energy of needing basically to fight for their lives against genocide, the tensions between Arabs and Jews increased. This led ultimately to the United Nations 1947 Partition Plan, which attempted to solve the problem by dividing the country between Jews and Arabs with a corpus separatum, a separate area around Jerusalem and Bethlehem, which was sort of to be under UN or international supervision, because Jerusalem was so important to Jews, Christians, and Muslims. The proposed plan was sort of accepted by the Jewish population, but was totally rejected by the Arabs, because under the proposed plan, huge chunks of our country was going to be given to this group of largely new immigrants, and the area that was proposed as a Jewish state already had 55% Arab majority and 45% Jewish minority, while the proposed Arab state was going to be 90% Arab. So the Palestinian Arabs felt that this was totally unfair, unjust. Maybe in retrospect, many people say we should have accepted that solution, but at that time, it was totally unacceptable to the Arab population. And so the British says, okay, we can no longer govern this area. We will withdraw the British mandate and leave it basically for the Arabs and Jews to fight it among themselves. This set the stage for the Nakba, the catastrophe. And it was a catastrophe for the Palestinian Arabs, because not only did they lose more than half of their country, but the Jewish forces, again, fueled by the adrenaline of escape from the Holocaust, a lot of sympathy, feeling that they were fighting for their very lives, not only captured all the proposed Jewish area, but they captured a lot of what was supposed to become an Arab area. The Arabs, for their part, expected the Palestinian Arabs expected the Arab states to come and support them. And indeed, several Arab armies did enter into mostly the area that was proposed to be an Arab state, but they failed miserably. And in the process, a lot of Palestinians were driven out of their homes. They lost their land, they lost their possessions, they lost their lives. And what ended up was the creation of the State of Israel in 1948 and the creation of the Palestinian diaspora or refugee problem at the same time. You must understand that when the State of Israel was created in this manner, 78% of the land of Palestine became the State of Israel. What remained were two small parts, the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, which together formed about 22% of the area of Palestine. But more importantly, there was no Palestinian state created in those lands. These lands were temporarily held by Egypt, the Gaza Strip, and by Jordan, the West Bank, including Jerusalem. And it became part of the Hashemite kingdom of Jordan. And the Palestinian people started living in the hope, the dream of a return to their homes, the feeling that a great injustice has been done to them, the feeling that maybe we need to depend on the Arab states and the Arab world to defeat Israel and return us to our homes and to our rights. People living in refugee camp have this constant dream of returning to their homes in what became the State of Israel. Meanwhile, obviously, the State of Israel grew into a powerful state. It opened the immigration doors wide open for Jews from anywhere in the world, while at the same time preventing the Arabs from returning to their homes, even though UN resolutions year after year called for the return of the Arab refugees to their homes. The Zionist movement obviously did not want those Arabs to return because that would undermine the goal of making Israel a Jewish state. For the Arabs, this was a very basic right. We want to return to our homes. You cannot take our homeland, turn it into a Jewish state, and deny us our basic rights in our own homeland. So the Nakba, or the catastrophe, became the pivotal point of reference for Palestinian Arabs in their conflict with the Zionist movement. Another consequence of the Nakba was that almost 400 villages in what became the State of Israel were evacuated and or destroyed. The majority of the Palestinian population, about 800,000, became refugees. Almost 50,000 of them were Palestinian Christians, and Palestinians essentially lost 78% of their country.